What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Sports Nerds podcast here on the 515 Podcast Network. I'm Brock Bierman, alongside, as always, the boys Dawson and Braden. First time back in a couple weeks since we've all three have been on the same podcast. Had some, I think, technical issues a couple weeks ago, and then I wasn't able to make last week's show. But how are we all feeling? The holidays are upon us. Christmas is this week, and some teams have been eliminated from the playoffs, which we'll get into, and some teams still keep finding ways to win. So, Dawson, how are we feeling?
Oh, man. I'm feeling great. You know, number one seed in the AFC. Basically can clinch that this weekend, or not even this weekend, on Christmas against the Steelers. Pat Mahomes, bum ankle and all, can still be the best player in the league. So it's good to be a Chiefs fan right now.
I knew it was over when he had a rushing touchdown as his first score. I was like, really? Of course. And it wasn't just like a QB sneak. It was a full-on like 15-plus yard rush. But, yeah, Chiefs just keep finding ways to win. I will say out of all the games, this was just a win, not necessarily like a sweat. I know it was a one-possession game, but it wasn't like as big of a sweat show in terms of like stress for Chiefs fans. At least from my perspective. I'm not a Chiefs fan, but I have Chiefs fans in my family and in my life. So it was a more relaxing game for them, but only a one possession win still again for Kansas City. But Braden, how are you doing? I know you guys talked a little bit about the 49ers continuing to struggle, and we'll get into the Cardinals as well, but how are you doing?
I don't know. This is a feeling I have not felt in a couple years. It's not a good feeling, but in a way, it almost feels like the Band-Aid's been ripped off. I don't need to worry about it. Can just kind of coast for the rest of the year. Whatever happens, happens.
Welcome to being a Cardinals fan 24/7. The Cardinals eliminated, as well as the 49ers, from the playoffs. Cardinals more embarrassingly eliminated after losing in overtime to the Carolina Panthers, the Dawson's frisky Panthers. Of course, one team that I made fun of Dawson from the start of the year is the team that eliminates the Cardinals from the playoffs.
Don't let the Boston media fool you. The Panthers.
We're not doing the Boston media joke here on the Sports
If you watch the Hardwood Combos one earlier in the day, you'll understand what the reference is.
We're not doing the Boston.
Don't let the Boston media fool you. The Panthers are frisky.
Stop that. Good Lord.
Man, I hope Chase and Hunter tune into the first 5 minutes of this.
we might have to tell them to tune in, but
yes,
obviously, let's hit on our two teams that did get eliminated from the playoffs this weekend, the Cardinals and the 49ers. We don't have to hit on the 49ers as much just because you guys have talked a lot about them over the past couple weeks. They lost 29-17 against the Dolphins. Looking at the box score for the 49ers, Purdy did have a decent game in 313 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. He also did have an interception. But again, the rushing attack for the 49ers was an issue, only 81 yards on the ground. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball, they gave up 166. HN had 120 yards on the ground and 1 touchdown, also had 70 yards as a receiver. What were your guys' thoughts on this game? And real quick, did you guys talk about the upcoming contract extension that Brock Purdy is probably talking about with the 49ers last week?
Yeah.
All right. We don't need to talk about that then again. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? And then as a whole, like where is your stance on the 49ers heading into the offseason, knowing that their future is kind of the season's over? And I mean, you're getting a lot of I don't really know. Like, this is not anything anyone was expecting to happen.
Look, I mean, I covered it last week. If you didn't watch that, we're going to turn a 15-minute segment into a 5-second segment. Season's over. Blow it up in the offseason. Hopefully we can get some players that aren't made of saltine crackers and can actually stay healthy. That'd be great. When our starting running back is Patrick Taylor Jr., you're not going to be winning a lot of games on the ground.
Well said.
Yeah, I mean, and Debo's doing what Debo's been doing all year, which is being incredibly mid for how much money he's making.
I don't even know if you could call him mid. He's just been bad.
Man. Oh my God. Kittle had a good game because somebody had to. Yeah, man. There are no more words left to say about this team. Just the suffering has officially ended, and I can just sign out for the rest of the year. I don't need to worry about this fraudulent team anymore.
I'm sorry, Hank, for laughing, rough. But
no, I get it, man. I really do. When you watch the same tragedy over and over again, like we either make it to the NFC Championship or we lose. For the last 22 seasons, we've either made the NFC Championship or not made the playoffs at all.
I saw that graphic. That graphic is hilarious.
Dude.
At least you're making the NFC Championship.
Your Cardinals did 10 years ago, Brock.
I've said this for a while now. I will continue to say it. I would rather be bad than have hope. Because at least if I'm bad, I don't need to worry about it. I know we're not going to win the Super Bowl. I can be fine. But when you keep running the same team over and over again that just made the Super Bowl but can't go over the hump, it's grabbing me by the balls and twisting it, man. I can't do this anymore. I can't.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
By the way, Dawson, do you know who the Cardinals lost to in that NFC Championship game?
Yeah, it was the Panthers, dude. The frisky Panthers. Don't be poo-pooing on my Panthers. Man.
Oh my God.
Maybe I'm gonna go be a Panthers fan.
Hey, Bryce Young,
hey, that's a team that
back.
When they're bad. If you want to be,
I would argue the trajectory for the Panthers right now is significantly better looking than what the Niners are going through. Maybe I'm just being a pessimist and I'm just in hell, but God.
Yeah.
I hate this.
At least like you kind of saw
you're having fun, Dawson, because I'm fucking not.
I guess I don't know if you saw this coming, like you were prepared for this as they kept struggling throughout the year. It's better to have that, I feel like, than going into the season with no expectations and then them giving you even an ounce of hope of them being a somewhat relevant, somewhat okay team, and then them.
Dude, that's on you for putting the Cardinals in your top 5. I don't know what to tell you there, man.
All right, this is NFL therapy. No, I'll be the host of this. You guys just let all your feelings out about your teams getting eliminated.
I've said what needs to be said.
That's true, Brock.
I don't understand this franchise, man. How can you go into the season with no expectations, proceed to have 4 wins, one of them against a team that is probably the second or third best team in the same division as the Chiefs, and the Chargers, had 4 games where they weren't giving up touchdowns, and then proceed to go giving up 16, 23, 30, 30, and 36 in overtime. This team makes no sense at all. It looks like Dawson may have froze up on the live stream. Oh, there we go. He's back. Maybe. I think he's pixelated, but Dawson, if you can hear us, feel free to turn off your camera. Sometimes that helps with the speed of the Wi-Fi. But this team, man,
he's trying his best.
I don't know why I even gave them an ounce of hope. And that, again, you mentioned it. It's on me. I shouldn't have even had one lick of hope in this team at any point this year. And I thought it would be funny to put them in my top 5 for not only 1 week, but 2 weeks. And the football gods punished me for that, but they never punished the Chiefs for all the dark magic that they've done all over the throughout the years and everything. James Conner has been performing all year long, and just another year where he's performing really well for a team that doesn't give a crap and doesn't play well. Trey McBride, statistically in everything but touchdowns, is unbelievable this season. Would be having one of the best tight end seasons in the NFL right now if it wasn't for the damn 0 touchdowns. And Kyler last week was like, I'm going to get you the ball. You didn't, and you still haven't. You need to find a way to get the ball in the end zone. Kyler, you need to get off the video games, because I know that's what the issue is. I think Hunter mentioned in our Hardwood Convos podcast earlier this morning that was released that Call of Duty Black Ops 6 or whatever came out recently, and the Cardinals again have another second half of the season downfall, and Kyler hasn't been necessarily performing all the greatest. I mean, yeah, he had a rushing touchdown, 63 yards on the ground, but he also had an interception and only 202 yards through the air. This team is just not good, and I found a way to give any hope earlier in the year, and what a way to wrap it up and get eliminated in the playoffs than by losing to the stupid Carolina Panthers, who played Andy Dalton at one point this year. People forget that Bryce Young was benched, and they put in Andy Dalton, who hasn't been relevant since 2014. And shout out Chuba Hubbard, though. I actually do. Even when he was in college, I was a big fan of Hubbard and how good of a running back he was. 152 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. But man, I told you guys before we went and started recording this, I was watching this on my way home from the Iowa State game on Sunday, and I was like, oh, well, the Cardinals are going to lose by a field goal. And literally the next play, the Cardinals found another way to disappoint me, because I was already ready for them to lose. They didn't just lose by a field goal. They lost by a rushing touchdown after a bunch of terrible plays on offense. It's just another year being a Cardinals fan. We haven't made the playoffs in a while. Last time was that 7-0 start with a second half of the season trash where they got killed by the Rams in the wild card. Kyler, I can't remember his stat line. It wasn't good. Let's just leave it at that. I'm back where I was at the beginning of the year, debating on whether or not Kyler Murray is the future of the Cardinals and whether or not I am happy of the coaching staff and everything. And they need to get rid of James Conner, not because he's not good, just because I feel like he deserves to be on a team that's contending. So we're about 13 minutes into this podcast, and we have talked about 2 teams that don't have winning records more than any other team. But that's where I'm at.
Do you know who has more receiving touchdowns than Trey McBride? You want me to just go on a list?
Kyle Juszczyk.
Nope. Jared Goff. Josh Allen. Bo Nix. Wanye Morris, who I remind you is a left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. What are some other good names on this list?
Not his fault. It is not his fault.
I just think it's funny at this point, though. Who's another funny name? Oh, man. Dan Skipper, who just scored one 2 weeks ago. Another old lineman getting in the end zone. Well, Patrick Ricard. Michael Burton.
Trey McBride does have a rushing touchdown.
Okay, you can call a spade, but
I'm just saying.
Trey McBride's main job is to not run with ball; it is catch ball.
Well, he's catching ball. Kyler's not throwing to him in the end zone. There's the difference.
Oh man, this is so funny.
Did you see Trey? What Trey said about the team? I can't repeat what exactly he said because not appropriate for this podcast, but let's just say he's not happy with this team, and that's a week after Kyler said he was going to find him and get him the ball.
Kyler has 2 amazing weapons, but just does not utilize them. He's got Marvin Harrison.
At some point, it's got to be him, and it's not that people need to start looking at being the issue.
Oh man, I love that start of this pod. It's making me smile.
Yeah, I'm sure you're loving this, man.
Oh yeah, it's only fair that I do this because you guys got your stupid Cyhawk win a couple weeks ago. I have to poke fun when I can.
That's basketball.
I know, and you having football, I can only poke so much fun. So this is my one way for redemption.
Dude, that was like 3 months ago.
Dude, it's still
holding on to that for 3 months.
Yes, yes. Watching that ball go through the uprights in Kinnick Stadium still haunts me to this day.
We don't even talk about the game anymore. We're already on. We're talking about Pop-Tarts right now.
We won 10 games, dude. We're having a great time.
Yeah, we're talking about Pop-Tarts. That's where we're at. The Iowa State fans right now aren't talking about the kick from Kyle Conradry. against Iowa. They're talking about whether or not frosted or unfrosted Pop-Tarts are good. And no,
Whoever says unfrosted is
exactly
evil.
That's an affront to God. That should not be allowed. We're talking about the Pop-Tart Bowl trophy with a functioning toaster. That's what we're talking about.
While you guys are playing in the Music City Bowl, sponsored by who knows?
Trans Perfect, I think.
I will say though, like I think we've mentioned this a couple times on other podcasts, but Iowa State is playing technically in the same bowl game that they did for the Cheez-Its Bowl and the Camping World Bowl, but they have changed sponsorship every year that Iowa State has played. So who wants to place bets on what the next sponsorship is going to be by the time Iowa State's going back to that bowl game?
We need the Jack's Pizza Bowl.
I'm telling you, Jack's Pizza Bowl would feed families, man.
Saw the Idaho Potato Bowl today. We need the Jack's Pizza Bowl. We need Jack's Pizza to be given out to the winning head coach. It needs to happen.
Oh my gosh. I want a Jack's Pizza now. I'm so hungry.
The trophy needs to be a working mini oven that you pull the pizza out of.
Coach. That's what you got to do.
Just pour marinara sauce.
Cut up a bunch of pizza slices and toss them on the coach.
That'd be awesome. Just pour in the sauce, and then the players get to throw stuff on the coach.
Pepperonis.
Getting back to the NFL here. We're recording here Monday night. The Packers are wrapping up a potentially shutout here. Still 5 minutes left, but they're up 27-0 against the Saints. Not necessarily, I don't know if there's really too much to talk about this game. It's just the Saints are bad, so I don't know if we really need to touch on it. Jordan Love, as the point of this recording, 182 yards through the air, 1 touchdown. Josh Jacobs has 69 yards on the ground with 1 touchdown. And Chris Brooks also has a rushing touchdown. NFC North is a interesting division when you look at the rankings. There's a good chance that the Lions and the Vikings will be. It looks like the Saints just turned it over. I don't know. Oh, whatever.
Surprise.
Yeah. Vikings and Lions could potentially be playing next week for the number 1 overall seed in the NFC North, or an NFC conference as a whole. As the playoffs are getting closer and closer, I actually did not realize that the playoffs start in 2 weeks, which is absolutely crazy. But who do you think in the NFC, not just the NFC North, needs this number 1 seed the most?
I'd say the Lions, just to try to get healthy.
Yeah, I would agree.
You got so many injuries on that team. You need a break. You need time to recover.
See, yeah. I agree too. The only thing is I look at history and I'm like, man, if I'm the Vikings, I don't want anything to do with that number 1 seed, because once you're not the underdog, the Vikings always find a way to choke. So sure. If I'm the Vikings, if you're playing against the Lions and you're like, all you need is that touchdown and you're the number 1 seed in the NFC, I'm needing the ball. Be like, we'll take the 3 seed. We want to be the underdog. Because, man, anytime that they're the favorite or they're the one that a lot of people may pick, they always miss a kick, do something stupid, or they just blow it every time.
What kick?
Well, which kick you want to talk about? Because it is not just Blair Walsh.
Is it Morton Anderson who missed it against the Falcons? Yep.
It's not just Blair Walsh. Our generation, it's Blair Walsh.
Our parents' generation?
How much time do you have? Yeah. Vikings fans, I think, already have their therapy sessions scheduled for not if, when their team falls apart. Do you guys even consider Minnesota a title contender right now? Or are you guys still skeptical on them?
I'd say they're probably one of the better teams in the league right now, but I don't know if they have what it takes to win the Super Bowl.
I've seen Sam Darnold go on pumpkin mode before. I have no reason to believe he won't go back on pumpkin mode. So,
of course, see, it always goes back to Sam Darnold.
It is. I'm sorry.
It is though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Like, I just can't get over the fact that I watched Sam Darnold for 6 years in the league. I watched him for a handful of years.
A while.
Being bad. Like, just flat out bad with the Jets. He's bad with the Panthers. and he was bad for the little bit he played for the Niners. I had no reason to believe that he's going to continue this amazing play.
Can we also agree, though, that it wasn't just...
Oh, man.
Maybe not.
Nope. No, we cannot agree, Brock.
He started talking about Sam Darnold supremacy, and he was silenced. They couldn't let him get away with it.
Oh man, this is funny.
Man.
See, you can't keep talking about Sam Darnold being good, dude. See, the internet doesn't
we
want
need to change the subject before we start losing more people.
Right, no kidding.
Oh, is he back? I think he's back.
Yeah, he is.
I'm on my hotspot now. I'm tired of
I am
our
too.
stupid Wi-Fi. I'm honestly...
My Wi-Fi kicked off too.
Don't mind me. I'm gonna just turn my camera off as well, just in case. We're still recording. It never actually paused. That's how bad the Wi-Fi was. So,
wow. It wouldn't be a...
Where was I?
You're talking about Sam Darnold and how he's the greatest player of all time.
Oh, Sam Darnold. You got to look at the coaching staff that he was dealing with in New York and Carolina. Like, I feel like that has to be somewhat of a contributor. And he hasn't had the receivers that he has now in Addison and Jefferson.
Whoa, I've heard all these Nebraska fans telling me Matt Rule is a great coach.
He's a great college coach.
Matt Rule was the Panthers coach when Sam Darnold was there, so I don't know.
I agree, but at the same time, he's a defensive-minded coach.
I'm just poking fun at Nebraska fans.
I get I see what you're trying to do. But, like, do you know
Matt
what I mean?
Rule's not good.
I feel like the 49ers may be an outlier a little bit, but, like, I'm not saying he's this amazing talent or whatever, but, like, he's not terrible when he has actual assets to throw to.
And I mean, with the Niners, like, he got like spot play, and he never got like even a week to practice with the starters. It was always known he was never going to start, so they had him with the backups.
I don't know, man. I've seen that man turn into a pumpkin, and that image just cannot leave my mind until, like, if Sam Darnold ends up winning a playoff game or two, I will take back all the words I just said. But until that happens, I have the right to be a little skeptic of the Vikings.
What if I think I proposed this idea before we started recording? What if Sam Darnold gets hurt?
No.
And we get to see the Nick Foles version of Danny Dimes.
No, don't be doing that. No.
As a Niners fan, you don't want Nick Mullins to be the team to put you out either. Just if we're making this a quarterback thing, I would rather it just be Sam Darnold put the bullet in my head. Because if it's Daniel Jones or Nick Mullins, I don't think I could show my face in public again.
No, I couldn't, dude. We're also not going to get to the point, knock on wood, because this isn't going to happen, but we're not going to get to the point where the Vikings are in Super Bowl Sunday and we're like, oh, who's going to start, Daniel Jones or Nick Mullins? Like, it's just not going to happen.
Well, yeah, because it's going to be Daniel Jones.
Don't be saying that.
Daniel Jones, Hail Mary to Jefferson to beat the Chiefs.
To be fair, Daniel Jones
has beat the Vikings before.
He has. It is his only playoff win. So, if anyone can win in Minnesota, it probably is Daniel Jones.
So, just saying. Looking at the other big games in the NFL this week, at least in terms of playoffs, the Chargers were able to get a close victory against the Broncos 34-27. Man, the fact that we had Saturday games is kind of thrown off the fact that this game happened on Thursday. I completely forgot about this game. Helps get the Chargers at least that boost in terms of the playoff position. I got to look here at the playoff situation, but are you guys believers in the Chargers or Broncos at all of potentially making a playoff run?
No, not at all. And that's not just being a Chiefs fan and watching these two teams play. I don't think Herbert has the necessary weapons around him. Vlad McConkey's played great. That is the one probably dependable receiver he has. Defense, I always question over for the Chargers. For the Broncos, I don't know how much I can trust Bo Nix going into the playoffs. I know that he's played really well, but he's still rookie. He could still make rookie mistakes. And I just don't know if I trust the team as a whole quite yet. I just don't think they're a very good roster outside of like a few players on the team. So for that reason, plus with the AFC being loaded, like not just the Chiefs, but you have the Bills, you have the Ravens, even a team like the Steelers who lost on Saturday. The Steelers are still a really good team. They still play really good defense. For those reasons, I don't think I can quite trust the Chargers or the Broncos to make a deep run.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm trying to formulate words here, but I don't got them. But I agree. I don't see either of these teams really making that much noise.
Yeah. Chargers would play the Steelers right now, and the Broncos would play the Bills if the playoffs started today. I don't know if I would pick either of those against those two opponents. Granted, Buffalo will probably be snowing by the time those wild card games are going on, and out of all the teams, probably Denver might benefit them. Not necessarily benefit, but wouldn't like be hurt by the snow as much as other opponents that the Bills could potentially be facing in the playoffs. Just because they have a chance of cold weather, snow sometimes, depending on where they're at. But yeah, I don't really think they're anywhere. Either of them are going to be competing for a potential deep playoff run. I'm assuming you guys talked about good old Kirk Cousins getting benched last week.
We did.
Well, if it could have gotten any worse, it just did. 34-7 victory against the Giants. It sounds like Kirk Cousins is also going to get benched, or not benched, cut by the Falcons to avoid I think it's a $10 million cap hit. And it's just funny because Kurt said that this was going to be his last stop in his football career. What's next, in your opinion, for Kirk Cousins?
The couch?
You guys think it's over?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's over.
The CBS booth?
That's not a bad
unless he can somehow get a gig as a free agent and signing for the team that plays the Buccaneers every week. Unless he can pull that off. I think it's over.
I know one team that has been rumored for Kirk Cousins for it feels like the last 10 years. And it may or may not be someone's favorite team on this podcast.
We're not doing this.
How Kirk Cousins is San Fran?
I will be a Panthers fan. I swear. I will do it.
Who knows,
Absolutely
man?
Not.
Who knows? Just as a backup.
I would rather see Brock Purdy signed to $1 billion than have Kirk Cousins anywhere near my team.
I don't know, man. Kyle Shanahan has been trying to get Kirk Cousins on the Niners for like the last 9 years.
I have my own problems with Kyle Shanahan, but no, absolutely not. We are not doing this. Silence.
Getting back to the game though, as a whole, I mean, he didn't have necessarily an amazing performance, but what were your guys' thoughts on Michael Penix's first start in the NFL?
You know, sorry.
You go.
For Michael Penix, he had a great game, but he made one huge mistake. He trusted Kyle Pitts to catch a football that mattered. Kyle Pitts would have scored a touchdown on that play.
Yep.
And he just, for whatever reason, is like, nope, not catching this one. Pops it straight up. I don't even know who caught it on the Giants.
He is one of the weirdest NFL draft picks of all time.
Dude, we're still waiting on the Kyle Pitts breakout year. Like
the talent is there.
It's happening eventually, guys. Trust.
Oh man,
he just needs to go to an offense that'll utilize him.
Do you remember he was like pound for pound the best prospect in his draft class, according to like pretty much everybody?
Don't forget the Falcons took Kyle Pitts over guys like Pat Surtain, Jamar Chase, and Penei Sewell.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that 21 draft class is insane. When you outside of the quarterbacks, the first three quarterbacks are just
Micah Parsons.
And they've been begging for a pass rusher for years. Can you imagine?
Yeah, man.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. I'm telling you, dude. That's
what would you guys grade though Penix's first start though for the Atlanta Falcons? Almost said Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, I'd say he did what he needed to do. He did great. Even I'd probably give it like a B+, A-. I think there's serious potential there. I think he could be really good for them.
I'm going to give him a C+ because didn't have a touchdown. I don't believe he really had a turnover. I don't put any fault on that on Penix. He did enough to get the win. He's not going to wow you with his play in this game. But yeah, had over 200 yards. Didn't get sacked, which I always like. I like when quarterbacks are standing upright. But yeah, he gets a C+ for me at above average passing grade.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good performance. We'll see what he's able to do. It looks like there's a potential opportunity now with the Buccaneers losing that he might have a playoff game in his near future because the Buccaneers decided to lay an egg and play bad football against a bad football team in the Dallas Cowboys.
God, the NFC South, man.
It's just so good.
How do they keep getting away with this?
It's just they've been bad for so long.
Yep.
For like at least like what 3-4 seasons.
Well, because it's been like
Ever
a
since
9-8
Brady's
Bucks
last year.
team. Yeah, it's been like a 9-8 Bucks team hosting the playoffs the last like 3 years. Because they won the Super Bowl in 2021. Does that sound right?
2021.
Yep.
The year after they hosted a playoff game against the Rams, I want to say. Lost that. Hosted another playoff game against the Eagles. Lost that. Hosted one last year against the Eagles. They won that. But it just feels like the NFC South has always got bad quarterback play. But who knows? Maybe Penix can turn it around.
You want to just talk about bad play overall? The New York Jets became the first team since the 1950 season to not punt and score less than
10 points.
10 points. The lowest mark, I guess, came in 1991. The Colts lost to the Patriots 16-7.
That's some Big Ten football right there.
Colts missed 4 field goals in that game. The Jets lost last week 19-9, and they didn't punt. Teams this year are averaging 31.3 points per game in the 8 no punt games that have happened for teams this season. They scored 9. This I'm sorry, like I'm to the point. Aaron Rodgers playing for the New York Jets next year cannot happen for the sake of that franchise. I know that it's pretty much that team is a meme. They're the longest, I think, active playoff drought in all of sports.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't shock me that they want to keep him around because they just like making stupid decisions. But I feel like for the Jets to go anywhere in terms of a positive outlook, they need to get rid of Aaron Rodgers in some way, shape, or form.
I mean, as far as I'm pretty sure he doesn't even want to be there anyways. He's came out and said he's not playing for the Jets next year. So, I mean, it sounds like that garbage is taking itself out. But, oh my God, man, you gave away so much to get him, got all of his cronies, and then have gotten nothing. I mean, shout out Alan Lazard always. I know you got his jersey in the back whenever you get your camera back on, but man, it's rough. It's been rough for the Jets, and it will continue to be rough because it's the Jets.
Are we going to see another Jets playoff appearance in our lifetime?
Yes, because they're going to sign Sam Darnold, who you guys think is going to save any franchise, and they're going to go to the playoffs next time.
That is not what we are saying.
No, I'm kidding.
Brees Hall is single-handedly better than any weapon that Sam Darnold had in the Jets, though. I will say that.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. No, dude, the Jets, they got to figure out something at quarterback.
We never thought the Lions would win another playoff game, so
that's true.
That's hope for everybody.
Yeah. But no, Jets definitely got to figure something out at quarterback. Even if they bring Rodgers back next year, like they got to get a guy under, like as his backup that will eventually be the successor for the Jets. Whether that they draft a guy, I don't know. I think they're picking at number 8 right now, which I don't know where that really gets you for a quarterback. In the draft, I haven't really spent that much time looking. But, or if you sign a guy, but they have to figure out their successor to Aaron Rodgers. Because this Jets team does have talent. I think we all can agree with that. They have playmakers on the outside. Now, whether or not they keep Garrett Wilson is a huge story for this offseason because it looks like he is extremely upset with the Jets and how they're giving him targets and stuff like that. So if they're able to find a successor, then maybe the Jets will be good next year, but I have no reason to believe with recent memory that they will be any more than a 4 or 5 win team next year.
It's just, man, that they should have known that this wasn't going to end well after he tore his Achilles, not even like 5 minutes into his first appearance as a starting quarterback for the New York Jets, which is still the most New York Jets thing to ever happen.
Hey, man, the Jets are going to jet and the Clippers are going to clip. 2 things that will always be true in our life.
And the Mets are going to Met.
And the Mets are going to... Well, hold on. When
No.
$7...
They already tried that once with Bobby Bonilla or Bonilla, whatever his name is. There's
Bobby Bonilla?
Yeah. They're
National
still
Bobby
paying
Bonilla
that
Day?
guy.
They will for the next 10 years. It's National Bobby Bonilla Day, July 1st.
That's so stupid. By the way, the
$1 million
Packers
a year, dude.
Packers just went final 34-0.
Jesus.
That's actually an impressive win. Now looking at the score differential and not giving up a single point. So much for Spencer Rattler and the quarterback room studying their playbook inside a refrigerator or a freezer, whatever it was that they did earlier this week to prep for the cold weather of the frozen tundra in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I didn't think we would be talking about this matchup, but I just want to get your guys' opinions on this one. The final score of this one was 19-14. 2 3-win teams were going at it. One of them won, and this one was shaping up to have the number 1 overall pick. I'm talking about the Las Vegas Raiders. They are no longer expected to get the number 1 overall pick because of this win. And Antonio Pierce, their head coach, doubled down on it and said that he's not here to lose. We don't do this to lose. I think that was his quote. If you're a fan of this fan base, what are you thinking right now? Because I get the point of wanting to win, but man, this has got to be rough.
Man, and I did not know Antonio Pierce went to the Lovie Smith coach of school of selling the number 1 pick. But yeah, what did they drop him from like 1st to like 6th or like 8th or something like that?
Yep.
It was like it absolutely cratered their draft position. And yeah, if I'm a fan of the Raiders, first of all, ouch. Just being a Raiders fan in general. Second of all, I don't even know what to say. You can't even lose, right? That's, man. What's his name? Pierce. He's so fired. He's so
Antonio
fired.
Pierce.
Antonio Pierce. He's gone.
Which is crazy because Dawson and I actually really liked him towards the end of last season when he took over as the interim head coach.
I thought he was going to be great. He even had like Max Crosby saying, "Yeah, if you don't re-sign this guy, I'm gone." Like, is this what would have happened if they had signed Rich Bisaccia after they made that postseason run? Is they just ended up sucking anyways? I don't know.
That's just, man. And this year with how many teams are like in contention for a really good pick, a win is a bad thing because, like you said, it dropped them down to like 6 instead of being top 2, top 1, the number 1 overall pick. Which I'm not a fan of the Sanders, but I don't think Shadira wants to even play for Las Vegas. I think he's made that clear on social media. I think he's tweeted something celebration-wise every time the Raiders have lost or every time they've won or something like that, and the Giants have lost. I think he wants to play for New York. But when you got generational talent in Hunter and Sanders and honestly some other players in this draft, you can't win. And for the sake of your future of your franchise, man, because they need a quarterback desperately. And there are some pretty good quarterbacks, I feel like, in this draft class. But it's not heavy in terms of talent. it drops quickly.
Brings a smile to my face to see the Raiders. They're just gonna Raider. I mean, that fan base, that organization is it's just so comical at this point. And it's not like they haven't had good players or good teams. They have. They had Devontae Adams. He's like, nope, I'm gone. They had Josh Jacobs. They're like, oh, we don't want good players on our team. Josh Jacobs, you can go. Zamir
He did
White,
have a bad year with them the year before.
I understand that, but he's had good years prior to last season with the Raiders.
I'd rather have Josh Jacobs toting the rock than Cecile McCormick.
That's true.
There-
That's a good point.
There were moments at this point in the year that Amir Abdullah, who I forgot was still in the league,
Nebraska legend.
was getting legit carries for I almost said Oakland, for the Las Vegas Raiders. So it's just funny to me that not only have they.
If you think that's like not something that's happening right now, he was the leading rusher for the Raiders last weekend.
Was he actually?
38 yards. Boom.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Oh, man.
he even had a touchdown.
Look at that guy.
Hey, man, maybe I've been sleeping. All right, I've been sleeping
The
on
frisky
Amir
Amir Abdullah. He's going
That
to be on
man's
the
gotta
Panthers
be
next year.
freaking 32 years
He's
old.
I think he is like
31. But
Dang.
oh man, it's just funny though because again they could have had their choice of either the two quarterbacks or even Travis, who we don't know where he's going to go just based on what team's available at number 1 or number 2.
Yep.
But it's just funny to me that the Raiders basically could have had this number 1 pick locked up, and whether or not they take one of the quarterbacks, they just find a way. They just find a way to do Raider things and win a game that they have no business in winning.
It just doesn't make any sense at all. I feel bad for the fans. That's next week, or when we get to the off season, we don't have as much to talk about. We should do like top 5 fan bases of the NFL that we feel bad for, not including our own fan base, because I feel like that would be a good one. But looking at other games, we obviously need to talk about this. The Eagles blew a big one against the Commanders. Jaden Daniels probably just punched his ticket to the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. If he hasn't already claimed it beforehand, had 258 yards, 5 touchdowns through the air. Any cause for concerns for the Philadelphia Eagles after this disappointing ending towards the game?
No, I mean you lost Jalen Hurts in like midway through the first or second quarter with a concussion. Yep. So, I mean, what you get him back and you'll be all right. I mean, the Commanders are a pretty good team. I'd say they're probably around that like top 10 range. And you only lost by 3 with Kenny Pickett throwing the ball. Granted, would like to not see Jaden Daniels throw 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter on you, but I mean, at the end of the day, you still only lost by 2. So I think you get back your quarterback and you're going to be business as usual.
I mean,
what was that?
Well, they lost by 3. That's why I thought 3 figures.
Sorry.
Oh, 3, 2.
My bad.
I can't read. We're recording this a lot later than we usually do.
That's true.
That's my bad. I'm busy tomorrow.
No, but Braden nailed it. With Jalen going out midway through the first quarter, I wasn't really expecting Philly to... Like, I know they had a big lead, but I wasn't going to be super bad at Philly if they dropped that one. I'm not selling any of my Eagles stock. I really like the way their defense has been playing this season. I know on Sunday they gave up 36 points. I just think they ran into a really good offense and a team that's still fighting for playoff position at this point with Washington. I think the big topping point is, I guess there's 2 with Philly. Is Hurts going to come back from the concussion? Okay. I think that's the biggest one. And the second one is, does Saquon push for that in-season rushing record? Because he's only, 268 yards away or something like that. He needs to basically average 130 yards the last 2 games, and you'll have the record. But with Philly not being able to get the number 1 seed anymore, do they push him to get that record, or do they park him the last 2 weeks? Is what I am curious about going into week 17 and 18.
Yeah, he's not going to get 30 carries a game. I'll tell you that for sure.
No.
He had 29 in this one. But yeah, I mean, like you said, they're not going to get the 1 seed. I'd be surprised if he's getting any more than like 15 a game. I mean, enough to make sure you can still win your games, but also don't get your guys hurt at this point in the year.
Right.
Adam Schefter, have you guys seen this video about him talking about Saquon or just the Eagles the last couple games?
I don't think so, no.
Do you know if I remember correctly, the Giants are currently the team that would be the number 1 overall pick if things keep going the way they are. Saquon, I feel like you play him not normally, maybe a little less than normal, but still like 75% of what you would normally give him against the Cowboys this week. And then after that, you weigh what his yards are there on how many carries you give him the following week against the Giants. But honestly, if I'm the Eagles, you know what would be the most like in division rivalry piece of crap thing is if you just go, if we lose to the Giants, they don't get the first pick. They go all the way down to 7.
That would be
Imagine
comical.
the Eagles just kind of handing the game to the Giants just so they don't get the first pick.
Oh man, that honestly, now that you've thrown that idea in my head,
why
I
not?
think that people need to see it.
Why not?
I mean, they're not going to lose. I think they've already clinched their division, right? So they
Yeah.
can only drop like from 2 seed to like 3 seed at worst.
So
yeah,
don't give the Giants any kind of hope.
Yeah, because
that would be hilarious.
That'd be an all-timer.
Because they're locked into the 2 seed right now. Like, there's no way. Because they have the head-to-head over the Rams. Yeah, there's no way they drop lower than 2. Man, that would be kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of here for it.
Just put Kenny Pickett in. Just tell him to play Kenny Pickett football.
Oh man, that would be comical. We need to see it. The people need to see it, Philly.
Back there, have the Kenny backfield.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that would imagine the Giants winning like 6-3 or something like that in Week 18.
Opportunity for the Kenny combo.
I think it's just hilarious and shocking that Jalen Hurts has stole like 12 touchdowns from Saquon this year.
Yeah.
Saquon could
be MVP.
Yeah, if Saquon has 20, if he has 23 rushing touchdowns, I know Josh Allen has had a great year. Won't discount that. Man, it'd be tough to not give the award to Saquon.
Well, that would be tied, if not, no, it would be 3rd all time for a single season. I'm pretty sure.
Which I feel
23.
like, I was gonna say Tomlinson's got 30, I think.
28.
Yep. And is it what? Sean Alexander is the other
27.
one?
Yep.
Okay.
Terrell Davis is at 3 with 21.
Because right now he said only, but he has 15, but he could easily have 25 if Hurts doesn't get all those baloney QB sneaks.
Saquon right now is, this would even make it a bigger case if he had, maybe this is actually a conversation we need to have. Okay. This was a stat line of I think the last running back was Adrian Peterson, right? To win MVP?
Yes.
This is Adrian Peterson's stat line in 2012. 2,097 yards.
Okay.
12 rushing touchdowns. So Saquon is a little over 200 away from passing Peterson, and he already has more rushing touchdowns, and he's averaging 0.1 less in yards per carry.
I think that's a little skewed and a little taken out of context because that was the year after Peterson tore his Achilles. So I think that helped Peterson win that award. Probably it gave him a huge bump. I'm not saying it's the only reason he won, but whereas Saquon like had a decent year last year, he didn't have anything crazy. Mm-hmm. But plus with the way Lamar and Josh are playing, like Saquon would need to have like I think you would need to have at least 22 touchdowns on the ground, and if not break the record, come in second for the record.
If he breaks the record for rushing yards in a season, do you think he deserves MVP?
It's tough because I need to see how the Bills' the last 2 games play out and how the Baltimore's last 2 games play out, and whether or not Lamar and Josh can keep the pace they're going. Because right now, I think Josh is still the heavy favorite. I mean, I'd have to check the odds for it, but if I had to take a guess, I would say he's the odds-on favorite to win the MVP. Let me pull it up. And Lamar's probably second, but it's so tough anymore for a non-quarterback to win the MVP. Like it has to be a truly historical season. And Saquon's having an amazing season. I don't think either of us are doubting it, but he needs to have more touchdowns than what he actually has. And if it wasn't for that stupid tush push, then I think you could have had it.
Yep.
And I mean, I think you have to look at the MVP award for what it is. It is the most valuable player. You got to be able to see, like, okay, if you take away Saquon from the Eagles, they're still probably a heavy favorite to make the playoffs. If you take away Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson from the Ravens or Bills, respectfully,
that's a good point.
They're not even close to the playoffs. They are bottom feeders.
That's true.
That's where I think that's a whole nother argument where we need to not abolish the MVP, but we need to have just a straight up so-and-so won best quarterback of the year. And then so-and-so best, go by position, and then you have an overall most valuable player. Because it feels like we almost have to give it to quarterbacks. Right, like how there's the Blitnikoff for the best receiver, how there's the Doak Walker for the best running back, and how there's a true overall best player in college football in the Heisman. I think if you did something like that, you could see more non-quarterbacks winning the MVP. Guys like Saquon could win it, even a guy like Derrick Henry, or a guy who's not in the playoffs right now, but man has this crazy stat line as Jamar Chase. Like, I think if you did awards like that, instead of being MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, and that's it, I think you'll be able to see more non-quarterbacks win that most valuable player.
I feel like that's more what the Offensive Player of the Year award is for. Offensive Player of the Year is more like who puts up the crazy stats is the best overall player.
Yeah.
Most valuable player is who is winning your team these games. Who is more valuable to winning?
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, that's just how I feel. I mean, everybody else is entitled to their own opinions. Mm-hmm. I have no say in this. I'm just a guy that says words sometimes. But that's just... that's my take.
Guy that just talks ball.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you guys, you mentioned how Josh Allen not being on the Bills would completely destroy it. I'm not even sure why I didn't even think about that. That reassured me that Josh Allen probably is more deserving because, yes, Saquon not being on the Eagles, I mean, it would just pretty much, outside of Swift not being with the Eagles anymore, would be what the Eagles were last year offensively. So it wouldn't be a huge difference. I feel like they would probably be in the same situation, not exact same situation, but competing for a good playoff spot. And yeah, we'll see what happens. This week, obviously, is Christmas, so we got games on December 25th. Ravens and Texans, Chiefs and Steelers. Thursday night game is on the 26th for the Seahawks and Bears, and then we got some Saturday games. You know, we got the Cardinals and Rams to look forward to. That should be something. And then Sunday as well. Any games that you guys have on your schedule as circled? I'm not gonna lie, I actually do really like the Steelers against the Chiefs just because it's in Pittsburgh. But yeah. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on our games to watch for upsets potentially to happen.
I'm looking at this Packers-Vikings game. That's a big one right there because I would not be surprised if the Packers beat the Vikings. Well, I mean, the Vikings are obviously the favorites to win that game, and rightfully so. But I mean, the NFC North, any team can really beat anyone unless you're the Bears. But yeah, if the Vikings lose that game, then Lions pretty much have the 1 seed, right? I think so. That's my game. That's the one I'm going to be watching on Sunday for sure.
I think for me, this game's on Saturday, but I think it's got a ripple effect that could affect many teams down the line. It's Broncos and Bengals.
Yeah.
Denver could essentially eliminate Cincinnati from the playoffs, but in the off chance that Cincinnati ends up winning this game and sneaks in as the 7th seed, could you imagine if you're Buffalo, you work your tails off to go, let's say 13-4 or 14-3, whatever it is, and you have to play a Joe Burrow-led Cincinnati team in round one, who's shown that they can go on the road and beat you in your own building. So I think if you're any Bills fan, you're cheering hard for Denver because it's a way more favorable matchup to play Denver than it is to play a team like Cincinnati.
So I think there's one. I'm running through these simulations that ESPN provides. I don't know how accurate they are. I think there's one scenario where Philadelphia could be the 1 seed, and that would be both Detroit and Minnesota losing this week, which Detroit would have to lose to San Francisco at San Francisco on Monday night. And then Minnesota would have to win against Detroit the following week. And then according to the ESPN thing, Philadelphia, if they went out, would get that 1 seed. I don't know. Again, it's ESPN's playoff machine. I don't know how accurate it is. Sometimes, the glitches can happen in their system, but there's that one simulation that could lead to the Eagles getting that 1 seed.
Who knows? These last 2 weeks are going to be huge for playoff seeding.
For sure. Chiefs, if I remember right, if they win, they pretty much wrap it up for the 1 seed.
Yep. Yes.
So
when they win.
You got to remember the Christmas last year, man. You guys can lose to the Raiders in Christmas time.
I understand that. But it would take Kansas City to lose their next 2 games and Buffalo to go 2-0 for Kansas City not to get this 1 seed.
Oh, because they have the head-to-head.
Yeah, because, Kansas City's 2 games up on Buffalo. So Buffalo has the head-to-head advantage. But Kansas City would need to go 0-2 in their last 2 games. And I promise you, if Kansas City drops this one on Christmas, they're playing their starters to get that number 1 seed against Denver. I promise you.
I mean, you could also tie against Denver. You don't have to worry about winning.
I mean, that's true, but I think there's no realm where Kansas City doesn't at least win one of their next 2.
Oh, yeah. I get it. All right, boys. Enjoy the holidays. Enjoy Christmas. We'll see you guys next week. For Braden and Dawson and myself, we are the Sports Nerds here on the 515 Podcast Network. We do definitely need to get some kind of intro song, intro video kind of thing that we do for the other ones. That is on my bucket list for 2025. I'll get that put together for us. But make sure to tune into the Hardwood Convos podcast if you haven't listened to that. We talk a little bit of Christmas basketball and all the other NBA headlines that are in the world of basketball. So for, again, Dawson Livingston and Braden, I am Brock Bierman. We are the Sports Nerds, 515 Podcast Network. We'll see you next week.